internet! And today we got to see the new weapon being revealed for Pioneer Podcast, or basically the Battle Pass, and they posted a reveal on their official webpage. It's time to take a look at all of these new stuff, and let me tell you, you may want to pick some of them up, because at the very least, I think they're better than the old past weapons for the most part. But without further ado though, let's just jump right in. A general overview on all of these new weapons are that all of the main stats of the new weapons provide crit rate or crit damage now. Compared to the old past, there are still some that does not provide you with crit, which does make them very tough to build characters with, given you usually want to max that crit rate or get more crit damage, right? On top of that, these new weapons all come with very generally useful buffs, which is pretty good to just have more options to build characters with. Now, all that sound good and all, their base stats still come in at a low 412 flat attack for all of these new weapons, which is just the issue for a lot of 4-star weapons option in this game anyway. The reason why this is not ideal is because the standard 5-star weapons are almost always preferred given their higher flat attack base stat coming in at 587. It's going to be quite a noticeable difference, especially once you're fully invested in a character. The quick conclusion here is that you can use them all as solid alternatives to 5-star weapons, especially at max duplicates. Compared to the current battle pass weapons, these are actually mostly better, especially with how they provide only crit rate or crit damage. The older pass weapons do provide crit on some, and obviously some others don't. Depending on how they want to add these into the Pioneer Podcast, it might still be a while until you can get the max tubes for all of these, but I do wonder if you do have the older pass weapon selector boxes saved up, would there be a chance that you could just open them up and get the new ones, right? There's probably no chance for that to happen though, but it'd be nice if you saved the weapon selector boxes and, you know, you open them, you get the new ones now. Well, we'll see how they want to do this, but for now, let's just review on all of these new weapons. To start, we've got the new sword. It provides 412 flat attack and 20.2% crit rate as the main stats. At max dupes, it grants 23% attack and 34.5% resistance liberation damage bonus for 15 seconds just by activating the holder's liberation. This sword is quite versatile given their very broad buffs. Sword holders like Chun-Li, Chameleon, Dark Rover, or even 4-stars like Yang Yang can find use with this sword, given it does aid all of them somewhat with their liberation damage, and all of them do some liberation damage in their kit. The issue here is though the standard 5-star sword just so happens to be very strong as well. Definitely the better option compared to this one for most of the characters mentioned if it comes down to having to use alternative weapons. The 5-star sword does provide you with way higher flat attack and even a slightly higher crit rate as well, so yeah. It may not be too worth it to go out your way to grab this new one for the battle pass unless it's for the sake of building an extra character and you ran out of swords, which could be the case considering the newer update to Tower Adversity, where you may see yourself building an extra team that you haven't half done built before. It's just more options for every player where you can technically just grab it and then put it on a DPS, where if you don't have unlimited weapons, they can still be of use, and it's not that hard to build them given your crit stats. With that mentioned, let's just move on to the Broadblade. This Broadblade provides 412 flat attack and 40.5% crit damage as the main stats. At max duplicate, it grants 23% attack buff and 34.5% heavy attack damage bonus for 15 seconds, and this is pretty much the same effect as the sword, but you have heavy attack damage instead of liberation. This Broadblade can aid especially GN, which deals heavy damage mostly, but this weapon is likely introduced to actually help out the new Augusta as well, given it is a Broadblade that has just been released right before her. This means even if you got very unlucky and couldn't get her weapon and you're still pulling for iuno in the second phase as well, this will aid battle pass subscribers a lot, given you can just take this weapon and have your Augusta work out, at least for now, given she should be able to fully benefit off of these effects. As usual though, compared to the standard 5-star Broadblade, the low base stat really does put 4-star weapons like these behind already, but given the 5-star standard Broadblade does not give crit stat on its main stat, if you are struggling with that, this new battle pass weapon may just help you out massively. Obviously, Broadblade users like Kaucharo can also use this, but I don't see a lot of people using Kaucharo, I'll say that much. Moving on, let's take a look at the pistols. It provides 412 flat attack and 20.2% crit rate as the main stats, and at max duplicates, it grants up to 7.2% attack and up to 7.2% heavy attack damage bonus, and it can stack up to 4 times. To activate this effect, you simply have to deal basic attack or heavy attack damage. Now, the only questionable part is, would the 4 stacks be counted separately, where you can get 4 stacks of attack buff and 4 stacks of heavy attack damage bonus at the same time? Or would it be shared between the 2 types of buffs, where you can get 3 of the attack buff, 1 of the heavy attack damage, and it just max out at 4? Of course, we won't know until we test it, but logically speaking, it should be 4 stacks for both types of buffs, providing with a total of 28.8% attack and 28.8% of heavy attack damage as well, which is around the same total percentages provided by other weapons previously obviously mentioned in this video. At least that's what it reads on paper to me, and things may certainly be different once we get to test it, but it's most likely 28.8% for both of the stats at the same time. Otherwise, this pistol just for no reason give you half the stats. This pistol hints more towards future characters, given it's a pretty unique pistol that includes heavy attack bonus. It's not exactly used well by any of our current pistol holders though. Plus, the standard 5-shot pistol does provide crit rate main stats too, which does make this pistol less of a priority in my opinion for now. But obviously, this is still a very solid alternative piece, or a piece that you can use to build your extra team that you need to build for the new TOA. And in fact, I think there's a bigger chance that this pistol is gonna aid someone in the future a lot. It kind of hints towards who's gonna be released in the future, and it's likely going to be a pistol holder with heavy damage involved. With that said, let's move on to the gauntlets now. This gauntlet provides the same 412 flat attack and 40.5% crit damage this time as main stats. At max duplicates, it grants up to 23% attack and 34.5% resistance liberation damage bonus, which is the exact same as the sword actually. Compared to the older battle pass weapon, this provides crit damage instead of the previous crit rate, and you essentially get 23% extra attack as an effect, while having a little less liberation damage bonus at max duplicates. This means that compared to the older gauntlet, the new gauntlet is now more versatile, with the overall usable attack bonus making it immediately more usable on any gauntlet characters that don't rely on liberation as their main source of damage. Do remember, this is only compared to the old battle pass gauntlet though. Compared to the standard 5-star one, it's a lot less flat attack provided obviously, but it does not provide crit stats for the 5-star one. So it's a case of give and take. If you still have enough crit rate and such with the standard 5-star, it's obviously going to be better. This new gauntlet though is actually quite suiting for the free Xiang Li Yao if you're looking for someone that can fully benefit off all of these buffs from the gauntlet. Obviously, it's not going to be better than his own limited 5-star weapon, but still, as an alternative option, getting the crit main stats with this gauntlet would be pretty nice for a DPS like Xiang Li Yao, and you might see yourself building him for your 3rd or 4th team, which you may need in the coming TOA. And finally, we have got the Rectifier. This Rectifier provides the same 412 flat attack and 40.5% crit damage as main stats. At max duplicates, it grants up to 28.8% attack and 28.8% basic attack damage bonus, all by simply using a resonance skill. Now notice that these numbers are essentially similar to the pistol ones, where it's 28.8% on both, which is kind of just why logically speaking the pistol should be able to provide the same amount of buffs as this Rectifier, given a little bit of a weirder like text description, right? But in any case, focusing back to this Rectifier, this one's actually a weirder one, given the old battle pass weapon Augment is able to provide 48% attack as its effect, triggering that by using a liberation, and also it provides 20.2% crit rate as its main stats. Now the reason why this new one is weird is it activates by using a resonance skill right now, while the older Augment uses liberation to trigger its effect, where a lot of the Rectifier users in the game currently prefer using liberation first. After using the ult, they get that very usable attack buff and just start slamming damage on enemies very easily, and that is why Augment was always a decent 4-star alternative for Rectifier users, given if you don't have the option to go for 5 stars. The new Rectifier here buffs less attack, but instead you obtain basic damage bonus, which means some characters that don't utilize that basic damage will not find this new Rectifier better than the old one. Now that doesn't mean it's unusable though. Characters like Contorella, Gigi, and Encore does still utilize basic attack damage to a certain extent, which makes it a considerable option for them. A good old Augment that you already own is just going to be solid on its own anyway. This new Rectifier is the only one that I don't really think it's outright better than the old pass option, but well, it's there. And with all that said, it's time to conclude on these new arsenal of weapons. First of all, do understand that it's battle pass weapons, so yep, you gotta spend money. Given that battle pass is basically the best value for money thing you could spend it on though, it's a lot of resources, and these weapons can just be treated as extras, where if you someday find that you need to build a character and you lack their weapon, you can give them these weapons instead. That provides you really helpful crit main stats. It's overall better than the old pass weapons in my opinion, except for the Rectifier at least, and I think Kuro is trying to provide people with more options for weapons, especially with the TOA update where we have extra floors to clear. So overall, it is solid to see. It's a good addition for battle pass players for sure. The one question still remains though, if you have not been claiming your weapon boxes, I wonder if you can just use them now after the update and just obtain these new ones. Probably not, it wouldn't make too much sense, but if you could instantly get like a max dupe new weapon as well. That'd be really nice. But In the end though, Wuthering Waves is a game where you don't have the 50-50 system for weapons. A lot of people would argue I would just rather go get the weapon instead if I'm gonna go for a character at all. Given the hard part is to get the character and their weapon is more like if you plan for it, you should be able to get them given you won't lose 50-50 at all. Which is why I think these new weapons are more like just extra options that crew is trying to give us, which is most certainly appreciated. There also talks about how the battle pass weapons are not exactly too worth it given they will never match like standard 5 stars or limited stuff, well, which obviously is the case, right? Otherwise we would never need to get the 5-star weapons. I feel like with these new ones it's totally fair, which is actually more quality of life given they all give crit stats. Well, that would be all for today's video. Let me know what you think about these weapons and if you are gonna get any of them at all. Yep, that'll be all. Subscribe for more content. We'll be covering a lot more content like these, and take care.